say that this has been a ritual we have been going through for the tenure of President Akufo-Addo. This is his last term in office, but he still insists that as far as he's concerned, there's no way. He rejects the notion that one man can be founder of Ghana. Doc, what do you say to that?
Well, a president is entitled to have his opinion. In my humble view, this is really just being plain childish. And, old age doesn't flow from childishness. So, it's a lot. I mean, there are people today who believe that the earth is flat. I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah, so on one level, really, we should grant it his right to engage in fantasy. Everybody knows, everybody acknowledges that Nkrumah founded Ghana. The Ghana project was Nkrumah's baby. Others had other deeds. In the run-up to our independence, at some point, the Northern Territory in Ashanti wanted to be on their own. Duncan himself, when he thought about this case, where you had the four component parts that make up our country, the original Gold Coast, that was by treaty, that was expanded. Ashanti, that came in through conquest. The Northern Territory, that came in by way of treaty. And the Transvaal Togoland, that was given a trust territory to administer by the British. These four components, they are coming together into one whole, Ghana. And the decision to go for a unitary republic of citizens all equal under the law was Nkrumah's baby. There was nobody else. So, if you are talking about maybe a future account, we can dredge up the president's grand uncle, David Ankwa, and credit him with it. I don't know whether you're going to have an Ashanti-Man kingdom or maybe a restoration of empire, which was really what they thought should happen. That if the British had taken over their empire and they were leaving, the proper thing to do was to hand back those territories to them. And in that circumstance, some people would have been returned to being slave people. Some people would have become the vassals that they were to Ashanti, etc., etc. But the concept of Ghana as a unitary republic with citizens equal under the law was Nkrumah's baby. He's alone. There cannot be many founders. And it's really, really ridiculous and childish But you know, in a certain sense, I'm grateful for this annual or recurrent bouts of foolishness when we dispute the very origins of our country.
Annual recurrent bouts of foolishness.
Yes. No. Because what it does is that it allows people who are otherwise ignorant or uncaring to learn a bit more about our past. Actually, one of the biggest crimes that has been committed against our nation is that we don't teach them our history. Nkrumah wrote many books. Not one of them is part of the school curriculum. There's a fantastic book that was written by John Parker. He speaks of the Gold Coast Revolution. Parker was a West Indian. He was a comrade of Nkrumah in the United Kingdom. He came down to join him and became a resident of Ghana. He's indeed buried here in the castle. He wrote a wonderful account of the many processes that moved the Gold Coast to become Ghana. In my mind, that should be a compulsory text in our schools. But sometimes I believe it was under the one of the various phases of the structural adjustment program. We bought into this foolish idea that history was an unnecessary frivolity on a curriculum that we could do away with it as part of the so-called educational reform. So history was taken out as a core subject. And when you take out the people's history, what you have is the people who are lost. And it's precisely because we are lost that these things come up and they cause a lot of agitation. Otherwise, these matters are matters that have been settled long ago. So, well, I know that the president is in last year, and that when we finally retire him, we'll be able to move speedily to clear up many of these self-imposed cobwebs. Now, there may be one needs to speak to the fact that Nkrumah really gets under the skin of those who have an alternative vision for this our state and our people. They reject the notion of citizens equal under the law. So they are addition or royal, the guns say name. I don't know how you say it in other, but you know, the people who believe that it's not the place of ordinary subjects or even vassals to be on the same level with royals. How dare they even think of being on the same level with those who are born into privilege. So there's a particular place that church people have reserved in their demonology from Nkrumah, rather like Satan in some of the religions. I mean, he's the epitome of everything that is negative and bad. But what did Nkrumah really want? I heard you speaking to my senior brother,
Professor Dona.
Yes, okay. And he was speaking about some of the that led us independence. True, Nkrumah's former roommate and colleague, Akwaje, suggested to his comrades that being a lawyer, he wanted to be able to practice and make small money. So he could not take up the post of general secretary and recommended someone he knew, who he trusted, could do the work. Nkrumah. True, it is on his advice. They wrote to Nkrumah. Nkrumah had many issues about coming to join with the likes of Dampa because he knew the problem. Okay? Nkrumah, Dampa had been active in the organization of various youth conferences, beginning from the PESSEY. There was not an unknown figure. Nkrumah knew of them, but he did not want to work with them in the first place. Secondly, what he had in mind was a much bigger project, a pan-West African leading on to a pan-African project. So you don't want to come down. But it was his comrade, Palmer, Sierra James, and others who said that, look, like the Chinese say, a journey of 1,000 miles takes one step. It begins with one step. So he should come down and, difficult as it was, take the opportunity. But when Nkrumah came down, it was clear that the project that he had was a far bigger project than what the original movers of the EPC had in mind. In fact, the project that the EPC had in mind was a project for a few hundred Bintus on the Gold Coast. People who had been trained in the mother country, Britain so-called, who wanted to be on the same level in the Gold Coast with a white colonizer. They had no place for the vast majority of working people in the Gold Coast then. They had no place for the Kamfrafo or Mama Buloy, as they said in Ghana. Because in those days, if you were illiterate, you strictly wore cloth, or I think we call it kaba, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the educated black man could aspire to wear shorts. And if you wore trousers, then you belong to the colonial, the white colonial, and then the super educated African. Trousers was strictly off limits to women. I mean, these are things about our past that people do not know. So, you had a color system, you had a caste system, and what Nkrumah knew from the lessons of history is that no revolution was possible. No process of gaining independence was possible without the involvement of the people, ordinary people. Those were what he brought into the UGC. Of course, that was not the project that the UGC dons had set out to implement. So it immediately brought them in conflict with Nkrumah. If one can sum up things, they've never forgiven Nkrumah for bringing ordinary people into our politics. And that really is the battle that our president is fighting. He does not believe that it is the place of ordinary people to determine our destiny, to have an opinion about how our country should be run. And even going all the way to ordinary people, unlettered, unschooled people, quote unquote, deciding who should be our ruler. That really, at heart, is a problem. Now, in a period after 66 school, they tried to outlaw Nkrumah through the law. I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was one occasion when I think Johnny Hansen and some other people went to Kumasi, and they had, among other things, an effigy of Nkrumah, and it created a firestorm, which truly frightened Buzia and the Progress Party. So they summoned Parliament, and in the course of one sitting, passed the law that made it illegal to display an effigy of Nkrumah in public. Why? The NLC commissioned Professor Dubois to write a history of Ghana that omitted Nkrumah. And that book was made something like a compulsory text for schools. Of course, I think it was a champion when he was through the Buzia, who cancelled that law. So, what our president is doing now is going by another route to achieve what they tried to do by law. I hope you get the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to you, this is not new.
It is not new. I think you yourself posted a piece from 1967, the Daily Graphic.
Yes.
Yes. These criminals have been, the point must be made that every instance of falsifying history is a criminal enterprise. Every instance of falsifying history is a criminal enterprise. And usually, it is in preparation for the commission of greater crimes, additional crimes, or covering up crimes. And you know, the MPP and its stock have been so clever about covering up our history in order to hide their criminal past. Because we are talking of the political defender of secessionists, terrorists, and bomb throwers. Today, very few people know that the opposition organized at the last round 12 attempts to assassinate Nkrumah. And it was those criminal activities that brought in the Preventive Detention Act, not the other way around. As early as 58, there were 20. The first coup brought against Nkrumah was in 1958, involving the likes of Arab Council, who is what do you call him, a founding father and an elder of the UP NLM MPP tradition, not so. Yes. So these guys come and talk to us about democracy, when all it was is about lawlessness, if they will not have their way. And their way was contrary to Nkrumah's Ghana project, period.
I see.
I could go on and on and on.
I know. But to conclude, this is like you also said, and I said this was the end of the last time of President Akufo-Addo. One thing is still outstanding. If August 4th is so crazy, in fact, it's always a contentious celebration, what should happen to it?
No, August 4th is an important date. It marks the birth of the Aboriginal Rights Protection Society in 1897. And it marks the launching of the United States Gold Coast Convention 50 years later in Salt Pond. I believe it was on a Monday. Nkrumah was not present. And so you have this whole section of the big ship. Nkrumah could never have been part of, quote unquote, the big ship at the so-called founding of the UGCC. The big ship did not found the UGCC. In fact, the UGCC was just, I believe, I'll call it a term of art. They had an office in Accra, which housed or hosted their working committee. That's the governing organ of the United Gold Coast Convention. After that, you already heard Professor speak about the founder of the United Gold Coast Convention.
Yes.
And if these were not wholly criminal, why would they hide the fact that it was Park Grant who founded and funded the United Gold Coast Convention? Why would they hide it? In all this foolish talk, have you heard them suggest that Park Grant to be anywhere among the quote-unquote founders? Have you heard them say that?
No.
So you can say that from the get-go, this is criminal enterprise. And I think it will end with the tenure of our president.
Look, also,
the only good thing that comes out of it is that, like I said, this regular bout of foolishness allows younger people and some people who are older but who don't know to delve into our history and to learn a bit more about where we are from.
Doc, thank you. Thank you as always for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
Dr. David PESSEY is a student of history and politics speaking to us this morning on this issue. Okay. Before I come to you, Lawyer, this is Anamnya Francis. A big thank you to Anamnya Francis Hebetawuni. There's a Sebonsu. Shukra Sanya Kime. Jemfi Joseph, who clearly went to Saito. Dauda Jara Salifu, Kunata. Isifu Musa. Yesko Eric. Rene Oklu. William Anigolo. There's Ajay Kantinka. All of you have joined our sharers on Facebook. A big thank you to you. You first. Yes. You
see, Obia won't be here to apostrophe.
Apostrophe.